In this second webinar in our four-part series, we'll take a little bit closer look at how CommonLook PDF GlobalAccess can be used to fix PDF documents. So I'll navigate to a PDF that I have open, and then in the toolbar to launch CommonLook, I'll choose Plugins, then CommonLook, and CommonLook PDF GlobalAccess. Once CommonLook has opened, I'll navigate over to the Tags panel on the left-hand side of the screen. And very similar to Acrobat, I can either click the little caret to open the tag tree, or I could use the right arrow on my keyboard to open it up as well. So the recommended workflow in CommonLook is to navigate down through the tags, making sure that when I select tags, that the correct content is being highlighted, and of course it's in the correct reading order. Of course, I want to fix anything that's not correct as I go along. Now, people who are used to remediating documents in Acrobat may have a slightly different workflow where they run the Acrobat check, see what's wrong, go fix those things, and then run another check, and then see what else is wrong, go fix those things, and so on. So again, the recommended workflow in CommonLook is slightly different from what you might be used to using Acrobat. Again, navigate through the tags, make sure that the correct tag is being used for the content, make sure that the tags are in the correct reading order as based on the physical view as you're looking at it in the center of the screen. I'm going to use my zoom tools to zoom in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier for me to identify what on the page is getting highlighted. So with the first H1 selected, I see in the physical view that it's just the letter A for the title, A Paper on Hearing Loss. And the next H1 is the letter P, and so on. So what should be all in one H1 for the title of the document is broken up into a number of H1 tags. There's a number of ways to fix this problem. One way is to simply highlight in the physical view what you want to be in your H1 tag. And then in this case, I'll make sure that I'm on the Insert Tag tab up in the toolbar, and then navigate over to the heading buttons, and the first one is Insert H1, or the keyboard shortcut Control-1. Now, when I choose H1, it puts all of the text into one H1 tag. Notice in the tag tree that the H1 that I just created is nested inside one of the H1 tags that was already there. So this being the case, I can either right-click to open the context menu, and then from about 2/3 of the way down the menu choose Level Up, or notice the keyboard shortcut Control-P. I often refer to this when I'm teaching classes as push, right? To push the H1 out of the H1 that it got nested inside of. So now if I open up the H1, I see that it contains just the text inside it, and it's not nested inside another one. So now that we've done that, we've created an H1 and we've pushed it out of the tag that it got nested inside of. There's a whole bunch of left behind empty H1s. To clean up empty tags, right-click on any tag in the tag tree, and then about halfway or so down the context menu is the option to clean up. Now, when I hover the mouse over that or navigate to it using my arrows on my keyboard, I notice I have a couple of options: full cleanup or skip empty cells. The full cleanup will get rid of every empty tag in the entire document. So what this means is if you have data tables that need to have empty cells in them for the formatting of the table, to keep it regularly shaped, then you probably don't want to do a full cleanup. The safe one would be skip empty cells. This will get rid of every empty tag in the entire document, but it will leave behind the empty TDs and THs in your data tables. So again, I'm going to choose skip empty cells, and then all of those empty H1s go away. So I'm going to continue navigating through the tag tree, making sure, again, that the content is in a tag if it needs to be, or not, not tagged if it doesn't need to be. We can artifact things, and also make sure that the tags are in the correct reading order and that the correct tag type is being used. Now, I'm just going to use the arrows on my keyboard to do this as well. So just hit the down arrow takes me to the second paragraph in the physical view, and I see that so far so good. Now the next tag that I land on is a paragraph tag, but in fact in the physical view it's highlighting what should be an H2 for the section on how is sound measured. So now that I have this text all in one tag, I don't need to create a new tag, right? I don't need to insert tag, but I want to convert that paragraph tag to an H2. So to do that, I want to make sure that I go up to the Convert Tag tab up in the toolbar, and then I can convert that paragraph to an H2 by choosing the button, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-2. So when I do that, now I've got my H2 with the text inside it. Again, I can just double click on it to close the H2 tag. I like to keep my tags as closed as I can to keep my tag tree a little bit neater, a little more compact, a little more organized. Now after my H2, the next paragraph tag selected shows me that it's only part of the paragraph that's below that H2, and then the next paragraph tag contains the second half essentially of that paragraph. Now I could, just like we did with the title, I could highlight the entire paragraph in the physical view and create a new paragraph, use the Insert Tag tab and create a new paragraph tag, and then remember to push that out and probably clean up. Another way to fix this problem though, if I see that there's two paragraph tags that contain the text that I want in one paragraph tag, I can just select them in order. So the first one, and then holding down Control or Shift and selecting the second one, and then right click and choose Merge Tags, or the keyboard shortcut is Control M to merge these two tags. When I do that, I've got one paragraph tag with two text elements inside. Now it doesn't matter that there's two text elements or one text element or however many there are. What matters for us from an accessibility standpoint and a tagging standpoint is making sure that the text of one paragraph is in one paragraph tag. So we're all set with that, and we can go to the next paragraph tag, which in fact looks good. Going to go down to the next tag, and again I use my my down arrow to get there. And I see that again I should be on another H2. How does time multiply the danger of noise-induced hearing loss? So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut here, Control-Shift-2, to convert that to an H2. Remember again that you could navigate up to the Convert Tag tab and use the buttons there for converting that to an H2. As we continue along, we've got another paragraph tag below, and then the next paragraph tag, and then I see the next paragraph tag that I selected is only half of what would be the third paragraph in this section. Holding down Control, selecting the second one of these two, it gives me the whole paragraph, and then Control M to merge those two tags. Again, not going to worry about the fact that there's two text elements inside that paragraph tag. What I care about is that the text that belongs in one paragraph tag now is. So continuing on, my next paragraph tag, again, I want to convert this to an H2, Control-Shift-2 to do that, and continuing on down, the next paragraph tag is good. And then what are some teachable moments? So I'm in this section on teachable moments about healthy hearing, and then I get to a heading, what are some teachable moments? I'm going to convert this to an H3. If we think about heading levels like an outline, so we've got a section on teachable moments, and then what are some teachable moments? We'll get further down in the text to other examples of teachable moments. So I'll make this an H3 as well. And then when we get into the actual other examples of teachable moments, for example, when listening is enjoyable, I see that this is in a paragraph tag in the tag tree, but I'm going to put that in an H4. Again, using the keyboard shortcuts, Control, Shift, and then the number that I wanted, right? So an H3 was Control, Shift, 3. An H4 in this situation was Control, Shift, and 4. Continuing on down then, at the paragraph tag, another what should be heading, Control, Shift, 4 to make that a heading 4. And then continuing down with more paragraphs. And then again, I should have another H4, another paragraph, converting my next, when buying noisy toys, etc. The next paragraph tag down. So walking our way through the tag tree, just making sure, again, that things are in the correct reading order and the correct tag type. So now I'm on this paragraph tag that when I select it, highlighted in the physical view, other things to consider about noise, loud music, etc. this would be my next heading level 2. So again, I could go to the Convert Tag tab and hit the button for H2 to convert this to an H2, or Control-Shift-2 will do that as well. So Control-Shift-2. And then we have a paragraph and a list. However, in the tag tree, we'll notice that I do have the paragraph tag, that's correct, but then I have a series of paragraph tags when in reality, in the physical view, I have a list. So I'm going to go over to the Insert Tag tab in my toolbar, and then I'm going to select in the physical view the list. So just highlighting the whole list, and then about halfway across your screen or so, there's the Generate Tag from Selection group, and in this group, the second option is to generate a list from the selection. So I'm going to hit that button to generate a list. All right. And then I'm going to scroll up in the tag tree a little bit just so we can see what's going on here. I've got my new list. Remember with my H1, when I created my H1 at the beginning, it was nested inside one of the tags that was already there, and we pushed out, right? Level up or Control P. Again, level up by right click, get the context menu, or Control P to push it out, right? So I'm going to hit Control P, I'm going to push it out. And then remember our cleanup function. So I'm going to hit Control E and do a cleanup for all those tags that were left behind, the empty paragraph tags. Now, I do want to open up my list tag and make sure that it was built correctly, right? So when I open up my list tag, I see a number of list items. So I can just arrow down through those really quickly and see that these are the main parts of the list. When I go up to the first list item again, open up, my label has the bullet, and then the L body contains not only the text noise pollution, but also there's a nested list, which of course I want to open that up as well. I see two list items, the label and then the text inside the L body for each one. So there's again my label for the bullet and the L body for the text. So I'm going to close that first list item. The second one then again has the label for the bullet and then the L body for the text, not only gunfire, but also the nested list with labels and L bodies as needed for these two nested list items. Close that. And then the third one, we just have a label and an L body, and continuing on, so labels and L bodies for all of these various pieces until we get down to animal sounds, where there's a nested list again. So here the label has the bullet, the L body not only has the text for animal sounds, but then it also has the nested list with its labels and L bodies as well. So kind of fast forwarding here a little bit, but want to, you definitely want to make sure that when you generate a list, you make sure that it got put together correctly. And make any adjustments that you might need to make as you go. But generally, it's going to do a really great job with generating our list. So now that we've walked the tag tree and we made sure that everything was in the correct reading order and we made sure that the correct tags were being used for the content, the next step is to run a verification. So I'm going to navigate over to the right side of my screen where the standards panel is. I'm going to open up standards, and we've got a couple different kind of tests that we can run. The structural check, so if I open up structural, then I see that inside there is ISO 32000. Now this is how to make a PDF, right? It's an ISO standard now because Adobe doesn't own PDF anymore. So the International Organization for Standardization has kind of taken that over and written the rules and how to make a PDF. So that's what this is. And then in the accessibility menu, there's old section 508, right, the original 508 from 2001, WCAG 2.0, right, which is the new 508, right, post refresh, PDF UA, and also HHS for Health and Human Services. So we might want to run a couple of checks here. We'll run the structural check and we'll run the WCAG check. So to select both of those, I selected ISO 32000, held down the control key, and then selected WCAG 2.0. Then below there, I'm going to hit the full button to run a full validation. Right. Now, a lot of people that I talk to that, in training and so on webinars get a little bit intimidated by the results panel that opens up, in the middle of the screen below the physical view of the document. But as I look in the fourth column that's labeled results, there's a lot of stuff that's marked not applicable or passed, right? So that's a whole lot of stuff that we don't even have to worry about. So at the top left corner of the results panel, where it says filter by all, this is actually a drop-down menu, and I'm going to deselect all. and ask CommonLook just to show me what failed, what do I need to manually verify, the user verification items, and what warnings do I have, which are essentially user verification items may be carrying a little bit more weight, right? So now we do have some things in the list, but it's a shorter list. And we'll just take these things one by one and address them, take care of them. So the first one is if I hover the mouse over the first failure that's listed, then I get a tooltip that pops up and it tells me that the document does not define the document title metadata attributes, right? So if I click there, actually in the properties panel, below the standards panel, it has become metadata now. And in fact, I can expand this out and take a look at things and notice that there's no title in the title field for the metadata. Now, because this is a failure, I've got a number of ways to fix this. I could just type it over there in the title box, or I could right-click, choose Fix, and get the Fix wizard, and just type in, and I'm going to apologize for poor typing here, but we'll title this a paper on hearing loss. All right, so when I hit finish, then notice that in the metadata panel, now we've got a title for a paper on hearing loss, and that failure went away. Now the next one is another metadata thing, and if I either right click, I could choose the Fix wizard, or I could just double click to get the Fix wizard as well. So this is telling me here the description of the error, that the viewer preferences dictionary of the catalog dictionary does not contain displayed doc title key. Now that's a little bit wordy, maybe a little bit confusing, but the fix options makes this more clear. Set viewer preferences to display document title. And that's really my only option. So depending on what your failures are, you'll get in the Fix wizard, a drop-down menu of what your choices are of how to fix the problem. In this case, you only get one correct answer, and it's to set the document to display the title as opposed to the file name. So when I hit finish, we're going to take care of that failure, and you'll notice that in the metadata panel, now the checkbox for display doc title has been checked. Right? We can also address some keywords, entering in keywords, the subject. Make sure that the author is your company name or your agency, your department, whatever, not your own personal name. Right? So those are some other things to address in the metadata, as long as the language, which we're going to come back to in these user verification items. So in fact, the next group of things to address are user verification items. So again, the tooltip pops up for the first description here. Maybe I do, or maybe I don't have enough time to read it. Another way to get there is to right click and choose Edit Checkpoint Status, which brings up the status dialog, and I can read the description for what this is asking me to manually verify. And in this case, just like the Acrobat check, make sure that color is not the only way of conveying information. Again, this is the color checkpoint, right? So it comes up as a user verification thing in CommonLook as well. We can change the status to passed, right? Making sure that no information is conveyed by contrast, color, format, etc. So we're okay here because it's all black and white. All right, going to hit OK. And then similarly, I'm going to right click and choose Edit Checkpoint Status again. And this is the contrast checkpoint, right? Ensure that visual presentation of text and images of text has a contrast ratio of at least 4.5 to 1. There's some exceptions and some additional information there as well. We don't have a contrast issue in this document, so I'm going to choose Passed and hit OK. All right. So now we got a failure for not having the title in our document. So now it's asking us to verify that the title is correct, right? Here's a good place for me to check my spelling and so on. But we're fine. So I'm going to mark this as passed, hit OK. And then, as I mentioned before, the language, so another user verification item, CommonLook's asking me to make sure that the language, English, US, is appropriate for the document, and it is. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Passed there as well. All right. Now we've got a whole bunch of warnings for untagged text elements. And as I arrow down through all of these in the results panel, I see that for some reason the spaces after the bullets in my list didn't get tagged. But then again, I don't really need them either. I mean, if the words were untagged, that would be a different issue. But for all of these spaces, that doesn't matter. And if I right click on this and choose Edit Checkpoint Status, the description of what's going on here says an untagged text element has been detected in this document. CommonLook has automatically placed those in an artifact, right? So artifact containers don't get read by screen readers. They're on the untagged side of things, if you will. So that's okay. Common's just asking me to make sure that, hey, you've got text that's untagged. Is that all right? Or, do you need to tag it? So in fact, in all of these instances, because I just kind of clicked down through those and saw that it was all of the spaces in the list, I just choose all of them. I'm going to right click, edit checkpoint status, and mark this as passed because it's okay that those spaces are untagged. All right, go ahead and hit OK. And then we get questions for page 1. It's actually the same question for page 2 and page 3. And the question is, if I right click and show it in the context menu, page 1 contains content but does not define header or footer pagination artifacts. Please confirm that this is correct. And it is, because in looking at the physical view of the document, there weren't any headers or page numbers down in the footer or anything like that. So in fact, again, I could select all 3 of these, right click, and change the status. Or another way to go about this is to right click and just change the status to passed here if I know that this is okay. All right, so mark those as passed. Now I don't have any issues showing in my results panel. I'm going to change my filter back to all, and then I can verify everything's passed. As I scroll down, I can see what's passed, what's not applicable. We've addressed everything, right? So I want to generate a report. So next to where it says filter by all, there's the report button. Go ahead and hit the report button. CommonLook's going to save the report as an HTML file in the same location where the PDF is being saved. In this case, it's on my desktop, and it's going to save it with the same file name. Of course, you can change any of that if you want to, and I'll just go ahead and hit save. One last thing, we're going to go back to the tag tree. So there's a tiny little button down at the lower left corner to take me back to the tag tree, or I could go to the Windows tab and choose the button for tags from the ribbon in the Windows button. Takes me there as well. Right click on the tag root and choose create document tag. So this basically just wraps everything up inside a document tag, which says this is one full and complete document. So there you are. We've got our document saved. Granted, this is a simple one. I just wanted to kind of go over creating tags, merging tags, converting tags, fixing reading order a little bit, and so on. In our next webinar in the series, we will review some of these concepts that we've just gone over now, and we will also get into things like handling data tables, tables that are used for formatting, and stuff like that. So please feel free to tune in to the 3rd webinar in the series where we get into a little bit more advanced concepts using CommonLook PDF GlobalAccess. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, or anything you'd like to see, please shoot an email over to info@commonlook.com, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, get back to you with your comments, concerns. Also, we've received an email on can we please have a webinar dealing with complex tables and stuff like that, and that's going to be coming in the future as well. Thank you very much for watching this webinar. Hope it was helpful. Again, questions, comments, feedback, send an email to info@commonlook.com. Thank you very much.